Princess Leia there, and he's like shooting and then hiding behind her.
I just think this is so deserving of being.
Music plays a massive part in film.
It makes such a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
They'd make a fortune if they released a DVD with the original, right?
I'm fairly certain that the people running Hollywood studios at the moment are some of the stupidest people on the face of the earth.
Yeah, some people say that once the art's out there, it doesn't belong to that individual anymore.
Well, I tend to think so.
Talking to me.
Okay. All right. Hello and welcome to the Video Lineup Podcast, episode number
15.
Number 15. Yeah, last week was Some Like It Hot. We're up to Star Wars. Yeah, this one was a rewatch. How many times have I seen this movie? How many times have you seen this movie?
Maybe 5.
5 times?
Yeah.
Yeah. I might have seen this probably 30 or 40 times, this movie, I reckon.
Yeah, okay.
I've
Well, you
watched
got a head start. I probably watched it for the first time in my 20s. So
what
20s.
What led to you? You didn't have a childhood with any Star Wars?
No.
Star Trek?
No.
No, just not that.
So my wife introduced me to Star Trek and then eventually Star Wars. I was trying to explain it to my wife. I don't quite understand, but I'm more into fantasy characters, I guess.
Like Lord of the Rings?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I enjoy Star Trek and Star Wars, but
I can't hear you.
sorry, I'm going to talk into it.
You're a professional, Nicholas.
Yeah, but it's just the thought of it doesn't interest me as much as fantasy.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
They have a lot of similarities, except, more laser swords type
Yes.
thing. Laser swords is...
I like the bows and arrows and...
Yeah, laser swords
Yeah.
is kind of... I don't know why I call them that, because do they exist in any other sci-fi thing? It's just lightsabers.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what else is it, doof doof,
Yeah.
guns, I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah,
Why are laser guns
space.
futuristic?
I don't know. Why don't they shoot bullets anymore? What are the laser things? Ion cannons or something like that? Anyway,
maybe.
we're getting sidetracked, but yes, so Star Wars, I watched it a lot. You've watched it 5 times, is a hefty amount. Definitely more than anything else we've seen on this list.
That's true.
Yeah, I've seen The Godfather
Yeah.
a bunch of times, Citizen Kane a bunch of times, but and Wizard of Oz, obviously grew up with that, but this one was definitely one that I'd seen a lot before, so it was really kind of really cool to watch one that seemed, I don't want to say this, but a little easier to just sit and watch.
Oh, sure. Far less pressure than some of them. I feel like when I don't know the film at all, I'm like, I need to be watching for
Yeah, what's the
and
nuance?
listening to every line. So
Yeah, and wondering why is this one in the list? I mean, it's not like any of them were, apart from On the Waterfront, which I famously, at least if you can call it famously, I just I didn't really love that one, but
yeah,
I can see why it was on the list. But the rest of them, you're sort of going, okay, why does this need to be here? Yeah, I can see what its impact is. You
Yeah,
sort of
that's
feel like you
right.
need to show it some respect. Whereas Star Wars was just so much. I know it's changed a lot now. Obviously, people
Yeah.
aren't all saying, "Oh, yeah, I've seen Star Wars before," the original at least.
yeah,
This one seemed to be just a little bit more casual watching. Plus, I could watch
Yeah.
this one with my kids, and they were interested
which
in
is
watching
nice.
it,
Yeah,
which is just a logistical nightmare we don't talk about with these.
yeah,
So much harder to watch a movie.
yeah.
And given a lot of these aren't inappropriate for kids to watch, the kids just be like, oh, what am I looking at? What's going
Yeah,
on?
my kids are a bit older than yours, and they've actually enjoyed some of them, like Lawrence of Arabia.
I can
Which
see
is
that.
interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like, are we jumping too far into the...
Oh yeah, we're
podcast?
rushing. I guess that's the end of the podcast
We
now.
haven't.
Thumbs up
Yeah.
or thumbs down?
How was your week leading up to watching it? Because we watch it usually the night before we record. We try to.
Yeah, I watched it. I think I watched this on Saturday night.
Yeah, so did
So-
I. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like Sunday nights doesn't always work, but...
No, Sunday night in Australia used to be Channel 7, 8:30 would be the Sunday night movie. I don't know what else it would be like in the rest of the world. I remember watching like Jurassic Park, and you'd always watch with the commercials, every... What a weird, actually, as a side quest thing, like how weird to be watching a movie and like every 7 minutes it just breaks for a couple minutes of commercials.
Well, I'm watching a TV series, Twin Peaks, at the moment on Channel 10. Plug. And
They need a plug right
every
now.
so often it breaks into an ad, but there's not the variety. They're pretty much playing the same one 1 to 3 ads
Yeah, I didn't have as
over and
much.
over. So
They'd always have the same
yeah,
sort of ads that, like we had a lot of famous ads.
and now I realize I need to get one of the Shark hand vacuums.
Yeah, all
So
of a
I didn't
sudden,
know I needed it, but
yeah, it turns out advertising works.
yeah.
But like at least with a TV series, it was designed with the ad breaks in mind,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
And then a movie, it's like there's not designed for there to be an ad
yeah, it
break. So
shouldn't be there. It's the
someone,
worst thing for a movie.
yeah, you just you get to like really cool moments and then ad break,
Yeah.
But why did I get onto that? What did I say
I
that?
was asking how your week was
Oh,
before.
my week. Oh, I don't remember.
Because
Yeah.
I want you to ask how my week was.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, well, let me just spend 10 minutes talking about my week and then I'll see if I remember asking you. I'll just tell you how I watched this movie. We worked our way Saturday night. So we bought a projector,
Cool.
but just from Amazon.
Yeah,
Highly
yeah.
recommend if you have a white wall or a cloth or something and a couple $100 because it was only like $350 or something.
Yeah.
I know it's not cheap.
They range in price like cheap to really expensive, and I don't know. I
Well-
guess the quality majorly different.
No, I don't know. The other ones might be amazing.
Yeah.
The one I got was pretty decent, I thought.
Cool.
And the kids love it. It's awesome.
Yeah,
We set it
yeah.
up on my camera tripod that this camera is on right now. Oh, no, different camera tripod, just a little one, not even a very heavy duty one.
Yeah.
And just sit it up behind a couch. I plug in an old TV, what are they, soundbar thing
Oh, yeah.
from
yeah.
like 12 years ago.
Yeah.
That I had laying around, and thankfully I didn't throw out, and it sounds good. I run I use an $11 cable from Amazon to run the auxiliary thing in and I cranked it out, and I was like, the drums come up of in 20th Century Fox, brum, 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 dum, da, 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 and I'm laying there going, oh, my 4-year-old's going to get like a cinematic experience of Star Wars. This is
Yeah,
great.
amazing.
And then he was asleep within about 7 minutes.
You didn't shake him? Wake him
Nah,
up?
wake up. Do you know what you're missing? This is a real experience. Now, how was your week?
That was good. I don't know if I've mentioned to you, I'm trying to get into sourdough baking. You've inspired me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But in my house, we've got half the family who are gluten-free and the other half is not. So I've got two, what are they called?
Starters.
Starters going. One gluten-free, one not.
What do you make a gluten-free starter out of? Just gluten-free flour or like?
Yeah, it's pretty much got rice flour and I think tapioca flour and a couple other things.
Any luck? A bit of a
Yeah,
rise?
it's going. So I ended up buying dehydrated starter first because I tried. Our house is quite cold.
Why did you do that, Nicholas? I live like 2 minutes from you and we have starter we could have given you.
Well, we're not really friends, are we?
No.
Outside of
This is all a fallacy. It's all a pretend.
No, I don't know. I didn't. I tried making it myself, and then it didn't work. So
Yeah, I
don't
did
know.
the same
I
thing.
should have asked.
If you tune in for a movie podcast, we're about to spend 45 minutes talking about sourdoughs because.
I'm excited because I baked our first loaves today.
And did you get a good rise?
Yeah, it wasn't as much as I thought, but they both taste great. So I'd actually say the gluten-free one probably tastes better.
Oh, that's good.
So
Bit of a tang.
yeah. So I am going to be baking again tomorrow. I realised how difficult this is. You've got to, all the stretch and folds, the pinching, and
Yeah.
it's a full-time job. So I'm quitting landscape design and
Just opening
just
a bakery.
making bread.
Just make one loaf
Yeah.
of bread a day.
I'm realising having your own veggie patch, having chickens, making your own bread. I've been trying to preserve things. All of that costs just as much, if not more, as buying it, I think, from the store.
Yeah, and it's time too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it speaks to kind of what the challenge with this list is and stuff is like carving out the time out of a modern schedule to do things that you think might be of benefit to you on another level beyond just like I can get, broccoli from the shops and I can make exactly the same recipe, but is the process of planting it, the seeds and starting the seeds and growing it in your own home, not just the health side of knowing that it's your own, but also the mental health side of that being a part of the things you do. In today's modern, like lots of commitments and things, it does feel like if you're going to do that, you're saying to get that kind of broccoli or that kind of sourdough, you're really saying no to a lot of other things that we've kind of been conditioned to say you have to say yes to have a good life.
Yeah.
And I think that I personally really I'm in the process of building my own like kitchen garden that's automated because I've spent about 6 or 7 years growing tomatoes and broccoli and, all sorts of stuff in pots, chilies in like felt pots.
Yeah.
And just having to move them around. Upside of that is that you can drag them as the sun goes across the backyard.
Portable.
Portable. But I'm fed up with the amount of hours I'd spend on it.
Yeah.
Hours and hours.
Yeah.
I'd go outside for like 45 minutes every morning in the summer. Oh, it's 5:30. Get it up.
We've got a sprinkler, which we move around the garden, but yeah, it takes 4 to 5 hours.
Unlike vegetables, though, I do think sourdough will get easier.
I think so. It's less stressful now. I was stressed about keeping the starter alive because that was the issue originally. The starter would sort of kick off and then just die. And I think our house is cold and it was just hard to...
Yeah, got to mix warm water in with it instead.
Yeah, I've been doing that.
Yeah, so but it does get easier.
To be working.
It's a good... See, I'm trying to draw a metaphorical parallel to our AFI list.
Yeah.
Because I will say that this list is, like watching the movies here, is getting easier.
Yeah.
It could,
I totally agree.
Not that it wasn't a slog at the beginning, but when we got to those like... Godfather, I love watching The Godfather, but carving out the time to watch a 3-hour movie that honestly, I ask so many people, have you seen The Godfather? And they're like, oh, no, I know I should. But they've watched like The Sopranos through like 3 times or something. And like, you should definitely watch The Godfather.
Yeah.
That's a recommendation. But then it was like Gone with the Wind, which, oh my goodness, that was a slog. It was a great movie, but it's favorite. 4 hours.
Great.
Lawrence of Arabia, another classic, but so much time to carve out. What was the other one that was really long? Schindler's List was long as well.
Yeah.
Singing in the Rain was fine. No, the rest of them were pretty good. Why does it say It's a Wonderful Life? Did we watch It's a Wonderful Life on this list?
Yeah. Yeah, we did.
We had a bit of a break, guys. So we did that at Christmas last year.
That was my fault.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Sorry.
Had a very busy few months with different things happening in life. So it meant that
family things. So, yeah.
Family things, nothing bad.
Nothing major.
But none of your business.
Stay out of it.
Anyway, they tuned in and we basically ignored them and talked about sourdough and telling them to ignore everything that we have. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Shall we skip ahead?
Anyway, I just wanted to share that.
You wanted to share. You just wanted to talk about sourdough.
Well, I had a success. I probably wouldn't have brought it up if it didn't work.
It is nice to share a success. I'm done. I don't have any other interesting things that happened this week, and certainly not anything that I could, pain you to try and draw a parallel between and this list so we could get back to it. But
how about I'll read out ChatGPT plot.
Yeah, if you've never seen Star Wars, there are a lot of people who've never seen it.
Yeah.
So buckle up. This is going to be
there. We go. So Star Wars 1977, which was, I didn't know, it was later retitled Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. It is a classic space opera set in a galaxy far, far away. The story follows Luke Skywalker, a young farm boy who discovers he's the key to a rebellion against the tyrannical galactic empire. Guided by the wise Obi-Wan Kenobi, Luke joins forces with smuggler Han Solo, Princess Leia, and a pair of droids R2-D2 and C-3PO, which I always thought it was 3CPO. Anyway, the group embarks on a mission to destroy the Empire's powerful Death Star. Along the way, Luke begins to embrace the Force, a mystical energy that connects all life and confronts the menacing Darth Vader. The Emperor's enforcer. The film is filled with action, iconic characters, and a battle between good and evil that resonates across the galaxy.
Nice. That does sound like a ChatGPT description of it. It ticks all the boxes.
It didn't say seamlessly. I use it for landscaping posts, or try to, and it always uses the word seamlessly.
You need to add something like compelling or warm, or do you do any of those extra words to help it not sound like a robot?
I'm not too.
I'm always trying to pretend that my emails are really beautifully written, but they're still written by me. So I keep using a lot of adjectives to ask it to sound better. But yeah, that described it, but something about it felt clinical. Was it?
This is the future, Tom.
What was one of the words that it used in there? It was like the tyrannical. The tyrannical. I don't think that they even use the word tyrannical at all in Star Wars to describe the Empire. Yeah. Anyway, they would be. I guess they would be. Sounds like a Disney Star Wars.
Given a chance.
Yeah. If given a chance, it seems like they actually, that's something you don't really see in this movie. Do you see? They blow up a whole planet. But
Yeah.
do you see them? They don't sort of have like an enforcing upon the population moment, do they? The bad guys pretty much
Yeah.
spend the entire time in their own spaceship, minding their own business.
Talking about how they're going to take over the galaxy.
Yeah, we're going to take over the galaxy. You know, I'm diminishing the fact that they blew up an entire planet. I shouldn't do
Yeah.
that. That's a lot of dead people.
But there was a planet far away. We didn't.
Yeah, we never saw any of those people, so we didn't have any feeling. Which is actually a really good point. Like I remember as a kid, I didn't fully understand what was happening. I knew that they blew up a planet, but I drew no emotional connection between the fact that they had blown up a planet and that all these people had died. The only thing that happens is that Obi-Wan Kenobi holds his chest for a second, felt a great disturbance in the Force, like many people cried out and then suddenly were silenced. You know, he says that.
Yeah, he felt it and he had to sit down.
And that's it. It's a little bit like, oh, come on. But it probably wouldn't have stayed as kid-friendly, you know, as family general entertainment, which speaks to the fact that this movie's not really interested in these the human element of it. You know, even the way, I guess I feel like I'm skipping ahead. I always feel like I'm skipping ahead with this podcast. Like, I want to talk about random things. I've got explosive random ideas everywhere. So you need to like jump in and make sense of this, or you know, give one of your really good insights. But even the way that the aunt and uncle, because Luke is obviously, he's living on a farm, or a moisture farm, and he's living with his aunt and uncle, and they've obviously been obscuring his life story, which, you know, because they lie about Obi-Wan, they give each other this look, but they say he's dead, and he knows he's lying about it.
Well, it's more the uncle.
The uncle is, but the auntie is, she's not saying it. They're a team that they've decided they're not going to tell Luke the whole truth, and you don't know what they didn't tell him, which is a clever storytelling thing. But then when they die at the hands of the Empire, you don't. It happens off screen, and their bodies are like laying out there, like just burnt to a crisp, right down to the skeleton straight away.
Yeah,
I mean, the filmmakers didn't have to do that. They could have very easily just had the actors, you know, laid there. But I guess that was a decision to make. It feels like very grotesque, and also Luke doesn't break down crying or anything. It's a pretty gruesome scene.
It's like, oh, I'm free now.
I'm free.
I can do what I want. Yeah.
What do you think of that? Did you think about that?
I did a little bit, but I think what you were saying about it, this is a kids' movie. Like I think if it was this over-the-top acting and he was breaking down and crying, it sort of takes it to that.
It's almost
next level of sort of more an adult movie.
It'd almost be like giving the kids signaling to the kids that, hey, this is much more scary of a thing that's happening than what you are currently experiencing.
And I feel like the movie, it needs to progress quite quickly. Like there's a lot that they need to communicate and tell about the story.
Yeah.
So you can't dwell on those moments for too long.
Well, it's I have this book. Should I go get the book and you can just talk? And because it's there, the book is called.
Don't do this, sweetheart.
The book is called Joseph Campbell.
Oh yeah, Hero with 1,000 Faces.
Yeah, because isn't it him who came up with the hero's journey?
Didn't he I saw somewhere that he co-wrote it, Star Wars, with George Lucas, or had some involvement.
I don't know. I didn't know he was alive. I'm going to look that up.
I could be wrong, but
I don't think he did. He definitely would have been given a credit because he isn't. He isn't given a credit in this. What? Now I'm going to have to Google if he was alive. We need a person off screen that's pressing record that just like.
We need a Jamie.
We need a Jamie to Google if Joseph Campbell was even alive then. I doubt that he was, but I know that George Lucas was interested in telling a thematic story. You know, like this story that sort of like, well, one of the first things is, let me just see, I'm looking at the hero's journey. So the first thing is the ordinary world. So you hear, and these principles, I guess you'd say, of storytelling, they exist in The Matrix, and Harry Potter, and you know, heaps and heaps of movies throughout, you know, all of Hollywood. The hero's journey is essentially what we enjoy as an audience. The big saga can be built around this person, and then going on this massive adventure, and all the different phases of the adventure pretty much mirror across these movies and books and things. Lord of the Rings, and The Hobbit as well, and how these characters change in the process. So you got the ordinary world. In this instance, obviously, the ordinary world is Luke's ordinary world because the hero here is Luke. The whole Skywalker saga of what we're going to get in the next two movies, which aren't in this, this ordinary world is in, but then he gets the call to adventure, and then he refuses the call. The call to adventure is he goes and he needs to rescue R2. He gets into a bit of spot about that. He runs into this mysterious Obi-Wan Kenobi, who then immediately tells him that you've got to learn the ways of the Force if you're going to come with me to Alderaan. And that's that's literally the call to adventure.
Yeah.
He refuses the call to adventure. Yeah, I don't know what it would be in Harry Potter. I assume it would be, if you've seen the movies, it would be when all the letters are coming.
Yeah,
and
but the family is
stopping it from happening because he pretty much doesn't fight back.
But
then there's the refusal of the call to adventure.
It's almost like the call adventure. It's a force that is pulling him, and he doesn't. It doesn't matter if he chooses or not. It's just drawing him into it.
Yeah, because then he meets the mentor. Which I guess they've done it in reverse there. Crossing the threshold, the hero commits to the adventure and leaves the familiar world,
Because ultimately he wouldn't have gone, right, if his uncle was still alive.
That's right. That's the same, same with Harry Potter. Same with Neo. If he had something tying him, I think he has some others. The point is, I should have probably rewatched The Matrix before I discuss this. What is brilliant about this movie is that in 1977, before... Perhaps it had been done in other movies before that, and I don't know my cinema as well as I will at the end of this 100 list, but he just did it brilliantly, tied it all the themes and all the ideas of what makes a story powerful. George Lucas just went, let's throw it all in there. He even took the idea of C-3PO and R2-D2 from an Akira Kurosawa movie called The Hidden Fortress. Like these two sort of bumbling... guys replicate.
It's fascinating that we cared about these characters. One who couldn't even talk.
Yeah, just in beeps and boops.
Like, you're worried if he died.
Yeah. And that's because of the way he structured the story. And the thing that was brilliant is that he had this idea, like you said, it was retitled Star Wars: A New Hope. I wasn't aware that they retitled it. I assumed it was always Star Wars: A New Hope, but I think that he put A New Hope. Maybe it was just said Star Wars. You know that the yellow text crawl at the beginning?
Yeah.
It says Episode 4, A New Hope on that.
Okay.
But I obviously didn't watch it in 1977, so I don't know what it used to say, but I assumed that it always said A New Hope, but the movie was called Star Wars. And then after that, he was Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, because he was finally getting to tell the whole story. Because if this thing had flopped, he wrapped it up neat and tidy, didn't he?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
He did a brilliant job of wrapping it up, but at the same time, he'd done such a great job of laying all this out and dropping all these breadcrumbs of what he wanted to do that the next two movies make sense.
Well, that's good story writing, isn't it? Where you can tell a good story and it's fine by its own and you don't have to keep going, but you can.
Yeah. Yeah.
And build on it. It's the same with Lord of the Rings and the Harry Potter worlds. Whereas I feel like we keep bagging modern movies, but they're forcing prequels.
Yeah, well,
even if the story is not really worthy of exploring those worlds too much.
Well, recently they just did an Alien. Was it a prequel to Alien or a sequel to Alien, prequel to Aliens? The thing with the Alien universe is they keep just like jamming a movie in a gap between two movies that already existed.
Yeah, okay.
They can't decide.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen it. I was looking forward to seeing, but again, carving out time to go to the movies or watch a movie at home sometimes is a bit tricky. So I'll watch it when it's out on DVD, as they used to say, on streaming. I don't know. What was it called? It wasn't Prometheus, Alien Romulus, I think it was called. And I've heard criticisms of it that it's basically exactly the same as Alien, just the same movie again, which you could also, obviously in the world of Star Wars, when Disney bought Star Wars, it's such an itchy mustache.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I shouldn't have bought a cookie. What was that one called that J.J. Abrams did? The one that Force Awakens? Yeah, it was.
I'm not sure.
It was called Force Awakens. 2015 they made that. That was the first thing they did when Disney bought Star Wars. Yeah. And there's an argument to be made that is exactly this movie.
Yeah.
Literally to the point that they turn a planet into a ship, Yeah. the whole thing, if the whole hero's journey is all just copied and pasted onto a girl character, the whole thing is just basically. I think she does. She starts on a desert planet.
Yeah, I think I heard
not
someone
even the
say
same
it's like that. You've got the male version, which has got the male energy, and like with the force, you need to balance it out. They need to have a female version of it.
Possibly, that's a good way of looking at it. I get thinking about it, but I don't really care if it's male or female. It's just more that, like you said, the lack of imagination means that they just copy themselves or make a movie like that doesn't need to exist. I think we're kind of forced into talking about sequels because this movie has, you could probably say 2 valid sequels, even though I used to like Return of the Jedi as a kid more than all the rest because I liked Jabba's palace and I liked the Ewoks and Endor. I didn't like the Ewoks so much, but I liked going to Endor.
Yeah.
Which, if you don't know what that is, it's like a forest planet that's like giant sequoias and stuff. I'm pretty sure it was shot in like, San Francisco's Redwood Forest or something. It looked awesome as a kid. As an adult, I watch it, I'm like, this is dumb. It's not as good as it, but Empire Strikes Back is just killer.
Yeah.
And it is genuinely, Empire Strikes Back could be number 16 on this list.
Okay.
It's such a good movie. It's the perfect sequel. It's got some great.
Why didn't it make it?
I don't know. Maybe it's later on the list. We'll scan through like later as we usually do. But Godfather Part 2's on here, so
It is.
not for a while. But yeah, and then he did prequels that they're definitely kids movies and they're not as good. But there's definitely a place for them. They're fun. The story's a bit, like a lot of trade agreements and stuff. They're like, what's the Trade Federation got to do with Star Wars? In his head, it had something. This is George Lucas's head. It had something to do with it.
He was involved in all of the prequels?
He did the 3. So he did this one, and he produced this one, and he directed this one.
Yep.
I do not know how old he was, but I'm going to speculate he was in his early 30s. And then I think he either had a heart attack making this or like had serious heart issues because of the stress. Seemed like he was a pretty tightly wound fellow. I don't know. Definitely.
Well, these sorts of movies would be pretty full on to organise. We've been watching behind the scenes of Lord of the Rings and the amount of effort. And I'm assuming Star Wars would have been pretty similar, like the costumes, finding locations to film.
Yeah,
the amount of people to organise
and he didn't get a 3-picture deal greenlit right up front. Actually, did they greenlight 2 movies when they were making the Lord of the Rings movies? I'm pretty sure this happened, that Peter Jackson got 2 movies greenlit with New Line Cinema.
Oh, okay.
And then in the process of making those 2 movies, they convinced the studios to let them make 3 movies.
A third one, yeah, okay.
As in, like, take the 2 movies and split them half of the middle of both of them and turn it into the 2 towers.
Yeah.
So they could replicate the books because there was so much material.
Yeah.
I think that's what happened there.
Yeah,
that would be its own thing. But George Lucas directed this, and then he just wrote and produced the next 2. The second one was directed by Irvin Kershner or something, who's like his like mentor or something, director. Did an awesome job. Then Richard Marquand, I think is his name. Marquand. He directed Return of the Jedi. And then, so that's 1983. And then fairly certain that The Phantom Menace came out in 1999. Yeah, it did. Phantom Menace came out same week as other fantastic movie. Genuinely not joking.
Yeah.
Notting Hill.
Okay.
Do you know how I know that?
No.
Because I was only interested in The Phantom Menace when I was 13 years old.
Yep.
And I remember there being interviews with the people from Notting Hill, and they were just like, even the people promoting other movies are talking about The Phantom Menace. Everyone's so excited for it to come out. And it was whatever Hugh Grant and that being asked about The Phantom Menace.
Yeah. Is that Hugh Grant and Julia Roberts?
Correctamundo.
Yes. There you go.
Sadly, I can almost guarantee you that movie is not on this list, but we should establish side quests.
Yes.
Do you want to do some side quests?
I'm happy to.
I keep pushing it. Earlier on episodes, we're like, maybe we should do something else. But
I feel like if it's relevant to a particular movie, so I don't know, if it's similar actors or explores similar themes.
I think a lot of these actors will have been dead by the time newer movies come out.
Yeah.
But we could possibly do Notting Hill as a side quest. We'll discuss it. We'll table that. But Yeah, so he stayed involved and he directed the new ones. What I'm trying to say is that after, the light just went out. After he did this one, he didn't direct another movie until 1999
Okay.
because he's made too much.
And so you're saying he was involved with the Disney ones?
No,
not at all.
Sold the whole concept, sold Lucasfilm, everything to Disney, and pretty much, I think he said the words, that he sold his children to the white slavers. I'm not joking.
Wow, that's savage.
That's a direct quote from, or he said white slavers, definitely. I don't know if it was his children, but he said something about that.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't think I think he's got to keep on a smile, but I don't think he's happy with where they took them.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, side point. The point is that this movie definitely deserves to be there because the way he's executed all of those storytelling
fantastic
things. Now, what do you think about the characters? Any particular characters? Do you think they're all well realized?
I think so. I think Mark Hamill is fine, but I don't sort of like him as a character necessarily.
He's the perfect blank slate.
Yeah. Like I like Hans Solo, I think.
Yeah.
He's a great character.
Yeah, honestly,
he's a bit more personality and, I don't know, a bit of warmth to him. Luke's a bit whingy.
Yeah. We're supposed to be a boy, a bit of a, I don't know.
Yeah, but then
I never wanted to be Luke.
That scene when he's shooting up at the what are the soldiers?
Stormtroopers. The soldiers. Soldiers sounds weird, but yes.
And he's got Princess Leia there, and he's like shooting and then hiding behind her.
Yeah, he's kind of a wuss.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know he becomes cool later on when he's got the Jedi powers and things, but
wait, on that as well, one of the stormtroopers gets shot and then falls, and there's a sound effect of the stormtrooper screaming, which apparently is in...
Oh, yeah, it's pulled from like a 19...
countless...
Yeah, so the sound is like that. And it's in heaps and heaps
Even
of movies.
some modern movies. Like I saw, I think, Deadpool. It's in there.
Now they use it, probably they use it because it's just fun for the sound designers to use it.
Yeah, okay.
And they might even turn it into a gag.
Yeah.
But if you've ever heard a cowboy, or not a cowboy, if you've heard the sound of someone falling and screaming, that's from a cowboy movie. I wish I could remember what it is, but it's called the Wilhelm Scream. And it's, of Wilhelm or whatever.
Yeah.
And then that's pulled from a 50s or 40s cowboy movie.
Okay.
And just
used over and
keep
over.
using. Yeah.
That's so funny.
George Lucas was like a true cinema student of cinema. Like he made... We have watched some of his work before because he edited on The Godfather. He edited together the newsreel sequence where they go to the mattresses.
Yeah.
And you see all of the gangland warfare that's happened.
Okay, yeah.
That's him that created that whole sequence. And also he made some, he helped edit together the sequence, which is one of the greatest in film history, when Michael Corleone goes to visit Don Corleone, Don Vito, in the hospital. And there's those, that the mobsters are going to come and kill him.
Yeah.
And he needs to move his dad quickly.
Yeah.
And it's that eerie sense of this hospital's empty and stuff.
Yeah.
And you hear the footsteps or whatever. That is help assisted cut it together by George Lucas, because he got Francis Ford Coppola. He said, use some of these shots that were rolling before anyone entered the frame and cut to these empty frames and then cut back before anyone appears. So it makes it look like he's creating space, creating a greater sense of space, which he does. Like, that's one thing I'll say. Will you watch this movie? I know that there is another note on the editing of Star Wars, but he creates such an expansive world. I mean, he's got some amazing sets and everything there.
Yeah, you feel like you're in space.
Yeah, you do. But even it's really grounded. Like I think they filmed in where is it? It'll come to me in Africa, but Tatooine, the desert planet. Yeah. That's really grounded and real.
Yeah.
And then where else do they go? They on the Millennium Falcon. A lot of these things used to be on the tip of my tongue, but they're sort of Tunisia. They filmed in Tunisia for.
Wow. It's a massive effort.
Yeah. Could you imagine the dude who played C-3PO, like in that suit?
Yeah.
In the desert in Tunisia.
There was someone in there.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm too eager and you're too dry. But yeah, it's just a really well realized world. I just think this is so deserving of being.
Do you know much about where the seed was planted for this idea?
You know that I know the answer to that. Is
I
that why
had-
you're asking these really
I
good questions?
don't know.
You're
I
asking
don't-
questions. I'm like, thank you for asking that question. Let me tell you. Yes, I do. So there's these Flash Gordon like serials, they'd call them. I assumed I've watched a lot of him talking about it throughout the years. I don't really quite. I think they were like TV serials, you know, SERIAL. It's like TV shows, right? That were like going through space adventures, Flash Gordon sort of thing, and they would even have the crawl of the text at the beginning. So he lifted that concept from those things, and he wanted to create a grand space opera based around that idea. He always had this, so that's where it came from, the seed being planted there. But also, like I said, the thing with Hidden Fortress, which is a 1950s Akira Kurosawa movie. So Akira Kurosawa is a Japanese filmmaker who like very, what do you say, revolutionary, but what's the word? Like maybe revolutionary, but innovative and new. And he was just like the first to do some things. Like he made this movie called Rashomon, which is, sadly about like the rape of this woman that happens. But then the incident is retold by every character, the various characters that have been involved in the day in the incident, and it plays out again and again and again and again, but differently each time. And that sort of concept hadn't happened before. So that's the sort of filmmaker that Kurosawa was, and he's someone that George Lucas looked up to. And so he took some of these ideas and he put them in his own movie. You know, it's almost like he remixed a whole bunch of ideas and made Star Wars.
Well, I think it's with any artistic endeavor, you're gleaning from somewhere. Very, very rarely, I think, an original thought comes through. And,
Well, I mean, that's Star Wars is like, you know, a sum of a whole bunch of different parts that make something that, you know, is kind of perfect in my book in terms of like blockbuster.
Yeah.
Actually, do you know what? I just said the word blockbuster, and I need to recommend a podcast to anyone else, because if you're enjoying this and you got this far, well done. Thank you for hanging out with us. Your reward is go to your podcast provider of whatever you can. And it is called Blockbuster. I'm going to double check. If you're interested in like storytelling podcast, you should listen to this too. I
actually have a feeling my boys have listened to it.
Yeah, I think it's called Blockbuster. Let me double check. Internet's slow for some reason. Yeah, Epiclef Originals Blockbuster. So it's two seasons. Season 1 is George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, and the 1970s movie revolution. And essentially it is telling the story of Star Wars being made and Jaws being made, as far as I can recall. That's what it is. And but it's dramatized. But it's dramatized, but with bits of storytelling in between, telling the true story. It even goes into that. In that instance, it even goes into talking about John Williams, who scored this movie, which is something else we should talk about.
Yeah, for sure.
Did you like the score?
I loved it.
Good.
Without it, it's
correct answer.
It's music plays a massive part in film. I think if you've got the wrong soundtrack, I think it'd be a flop, really.
Yeah, it does. It makes such a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Even that scene, so like when he's realized that he's going to probably be stuck on this desert, you know, on the farm with his auntie and uncle, and they're not going to let him go for another year or so, and he's letting go of his dreams, and woe is me. He goes out to watch the sunset, and, you know, this, like, I was thinking, this is such an iconic moment that I've seen before, and he's standing watching these twin suns come down, and it's the music that really makes it big, because I watched it, it's like, it's 2 shots. Yeah. And it's actually 3 shots, but 2 of them are exactly the same shot, and he does almost nothing in them. He just stands there and looks at the sun, and then that's it. But because of the way the music rises, it makes it feel like a real moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just thinking some of the, like with modern cinema, there's like something that was really memorable was the soundtrack for Loki. I don't know if you remember the
TV show.
Yeah.
I didn't watch that.
Like,
was it good?
It was all right, but the soundtrack was amazing, and I think my boys have a playlist with a whole lot of random songs, and one of them's the soundtrack or the opening song for it.
I should listen to that. They've got actually a couple good Star Wars ones as well. I think of the theme to The Mandalorian is really good.
Yeah, yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. And it's really clever
Yeah.
instrumentation. But Stranger Things is another one that's
Yeah,
got
that's
killer songs.
fantastic. Yeah.
But it sets the tone and puts you in place. This one, I don't know whether it was the first for a long time that really brought this big orchestral score and married it to science fiction. We take all that for granted now that all big orchestral stuff is just married to these different genres.
But sometimes it doesn't work. Like, I can't think of specific films, but where it's like a bit bland and it just doesn't have that catchy
could just be a shit
hook.
movie.
Potentially. But there's something about it.
Highlander 2?
Like, I don't know. The Star Wars theme song, there's a hook to it that's memorable, which there's,
He's got themes, obviously. I mean, I want to say things like everyone knows, the march, the Darth Vader march.
Yeah.
How does it go now? I've just got Mandalorian in my head. No, it goes. No, you did Superman then. No, Star Wars go. I've
just got the picture in my head of there's some trumpet and trombone players which go out in public and just follow runners along playing that song.
Oh yeah, like they're doing the march of the Darth Vader one.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna come. Okay, we need a moment silence so we can think about what it is.
Can I?
Dun, 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 dun,
You didn't
dun.
even give us a moment.
Yeah, but as soon as it came into my brain, I had to get it out. Otherwise, I wasn't going to. Yeah, sorry.
I was wanting to rant about the remastered versions of the movie.
Okay. What did you watch?
I watched it on Disney Plus, and I didn't because I thought we had the DVD, but I think Theo, my son, said we lent it to someone, and they didn't give it back.
Who did you lend it to? You need to go around there and.
It's one of their friends. He's only a little boy.
Oh, okay.
So.
I watched Billy Madison on the weekend as well.
Yeah,
and you could probably justify abusing a small child like with verbal abuse. Obviously, is what I'm talking about. The way that Billy Madison does, like shut up. You know how he does that? He's like, and he does the game of dodgeball. The Americans call it.
Yeah.
What do we call it? We did never call it dodgeball until the movie came out here.
Handball?
No, it wasn't called handball. It was called. It was called something else.
It wasn't British Bulldogs.
British Bulldogs? No.
No.
Anyway, it'll come to me. And he throws the ball at the kids really hard. And then I read that the editor had to cut away each time he hit a kid with the ball because the kids immediately screamed out and cried. So you can do that to that kid and to get your DVD back.
Yeah.
But even then, your DVD is going to be, it's going to be not the right correct version. I can't speak tonight. What is that with me? My brain is
sure. But what? Why?
Because in 1997,
yeah,
he released the special editions. Now, this was days when you'd get Tarzos in your packet of Doritos.
Okay.
And you could get and I collected them all. I should have kept them because I probably might be able to pay my house off with them now, or they'd be worth nothing. Who knows?
Is this what I would have watched?
Yeah, because some version
looked newer.
Yes,
it was horrible.
So he created special editions, and then in that he added all these extra shots. So I think there was like a couple of minutes of extra footage in there. He also added back a sequence in this movie in particular, which he had shot with a male, larger actor who was playing Jabba, because there obviously this discussion around Han Solo having a debt to Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah.
You never see who Jabba, and then you have a sequence after the Mos Eisley spaceport where they meet each other, where Luke and Obi-Wan contracts Han and Chewie to take them. There's a scene between that and when they finally leave, where Han has a conversation walking around the Millennium Falcon with this actor who was cast as Jabba the Hutt. Okay. They cut it from the final movie, and then obviously Jabba the Hutt, they wanted to bring it back in.
Yeah, okay.
And so Jabba the Hutt is not
that's one of the scenes I was going to bring up.
So is that in the movie that you watched?
Yeah. Well.
So, and then he does this, because he walks around him and they realize, well, Jabba has a tail. So he has this sort of weird sort of like thing where they digitally bring him up quickly and jolt him up, like he's just walked and just stood on Jabba's tail, and then you go, oh, it's just a whole very unnecessary. So he did things like that in 1997, and then he left it in and never reissued the cinema release versions that everybody grew up on. Like I grew up on those as well because I had, and I wish I never sold them, or got rid of them. Probably threw it out.
Yeah,
The
okay.
VHS versions, of the movies.
Yeah.
And yeah, ever since 1997, every version of them has all of that in it. Even in Return of the Jedi, the song has changed
Ugh.
that they play. They used to play a different song.
Most people would agree that they want the original, right? No one likes these new editions.
I don't want to. I don't know. Some things you see in the world these days, you're like, I thought most people all out of stuff, and that's not
Yeah.
true. But I could assume so.
Yeah.
I want an original version. Like, don't mess with it. I mean, in 1997, yes, please give it to me. I want the Tarzos. I want the Box of Maltesers. I can't wait for Phantom Menace. Bring it on. Bring it
Yep.
on. Terminator 3. Yeah, let's make it. I want to see that movie
Yep.
as well. As an adult, looking back, you're like, oh, I'm glad that happened, but can we please just revert to a world before Terminator 3 existed?
Yep.
Or maybe not Terminator 3. That's actually a bit of fun, but, you know, before the special editions, and that can just be, if you want the special edition, you can buy that, and it can
Yeah,
be.
that's right. Yeah.
But nah, so I watched a version which, again, you need to come to me for things.
Okay.
From Sourdough Starter all the way through to Star Wars.
Okay.
Thank you, John Lewis. If you were listening to me years ago, he told me about the despecialized edition.
Despecialized. Okay.
So you can download a copy of the movie, which I don't encourage.
On Pirate Bay.
I don't remember where I got it. I think it's actually like on a website where people have actually, and you can contribute to the project. People have scanned in high resolution the movie, and they've pieced together themselves the original version that existed on VHS. I mean, you know, like, look around me. I got heaps of physical media, and I got the DVDs that you would have watched.
Yeah.
These are DVDs. I think they're DVDs. They're not Blu-rays, are they? No, they're just
Yeah,
DVDs.
Special box set.
I thought I had a Blu-ray. I actually do have a. Yeah, it's a satisfying
It's like
sound.
a zip.
I'm pretty sure I do have the Blu-ray of this as well, but they're all the same as you. So I can give you like a file, and it's awesome because it's back to what it was on VHS, and it's good quality, really good quality.
Yeah, I stopped the movie sort of once I realized, and I was like searching for it, but
Yeah. I think someone else has actually done an even better version than what I've got, and I don't know how to get hold of that. Some people have like even designed Blu-ray covers and made like vintage looking covers, actually really cool looking stuff, printed the DVD, everything, so that they can have a really good custom version of the original movies, even in the color grade that it was.
They'd make a fortune if they released the DVD with the original, right?
I don't know if we've said this before on this podcast, but I'm fairly certain that the people running Hollywood studios at the moment are some of the stupidest people on the face of the earth.
But they want money. They like money.
I think they've all got individually got plenty of money, and they don't really care about movies.
Yeah.
I think they like fame and money and control and power.
Yeah.
And like 20% of them like movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because also when this movie was made, 20th Century Fox was still no, it wouldn't have. It would have been around this era that companies started coming in and buying the studios. A lot of the movies on this list, so like All About Eve next week, 1950, the Warner Brothers were run by Jack Warner. You know, or I don't know whether Jack Warner was around doing that. I don't know if they made that movie, but Warner Brothers meant Warner, you know.
Yeah.
And Metro Goldwyn Mayer meant Louis B. Mayer. You know, they were the people who'd started the studios were still connected to the studios. By the time Star Wars by the time 80s come around, they've all been sold off to Coca-Cola and Sony, like Sony Pictures.
Yeah, okay.
You know, Sony brought them thing on.
My moustache is a bit itchy.
Is your moustache itchy?
I just scratched it, but
Is there an itchy moustache like thing we've got a problem we've got with this microphone? Someone put some sort of dust. This podcast is getting into too much controversial territory. Someone's put something on our mics to stop us from being productive. Yeah. Anyway, so I think. Yeah, did I answer your question? What did you ask me?
It's the remastered versions and why they don't bring out a DVD.
What did your boys think of the movie?
They love it. They love the world of Star Wars.
So then they're fine with sci-fi and fantasy?
Yeah, well, I think we're yet to show them Star Trek, but yeah, we'll get on to that soon.
I don't know what to do about Star Trek. Like Star Wars is obvious because the first movie is the beginning of the entire thing, right?
Yeah.
And it's one movie, boom, done.
Yeah.
2 hours later, that's Star Wars, boys. Oh, well, we loved it. Awesome. Can we watch Empire Strikes Back? Yeah, no worries. Let's watch that. 2 hours later, now you've done two-thirds.
Yeah.
You know, Star Trek is like a TV series from the 70s, and you're like,
Yeah.
how much of this is going to
How much do
translate?
you have to
I mean, Trekkies
show?
will probably be like, what are they talking about? But I don't know what to do there because I feel like I struggle to carve out the time for these. I don't want to start a whole nother series.
Yeah, I think like my wife grew up on Jean-Luc.
Oh, that's
Uh,
the Next Generation?
no, I'm not sure.
Jean-Luc, you're talking about Patrick,
Yeah, I can't
I
remember
can only
his
think
name.
of Patrick Dempsey, and that's definitely not him. He's like, he's in Grey's Anatomy. Oh man,
Yeah, I'm not
Patrick,
sure.
Professor
Yeah,
X.
yeah. So
Patrick Bateman?
it's
No,
him.
that's
It's
American
kind of
Psycho.
like Doctor Who. You don't have to watch them all. You can choose your favorite
Yeah.
doctors.
Yeah, I know that, but some part of me is like, I need to start at the very beginning.
Mm,
Do you know why?
why?
Because Maria told me that that's a very good place to start.
Maria?
Are we gonna watch that movie on this movie? So there's a.
I don't know.
Do you know what movie that I'm
No.
referencing? I'm cutting deep here, and I'm the only one who gets it. It's from that movie with the Von Trapps. The Hills Are Alive. What's that one
Oh,
called?
Sound of Music.
Sound of Music. Remember? Start from the very beginning.
It's been a
She
while
sounds
since
exactly
I've
like that too.
watched it. Yeah,
A
okay.
very good place to start. That's her accent. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
So
that's what I
you
feel.
have to. So it's all or nothing.
Yeah, so I had this thing where I wanted to. Lord of the Rings came out 2001. I finished high school 2003.
Mm.
So I was like year 10. Lord of the Rings was coming out in 2001. And I think so, year 2000. Actually, it was coming out Christmas 2001.
Mm.
So all year I was like, I'm going to read Lord of the Rings before the movies come out.
Yeah.
That's a brilliant thing to do. What's this? The Hobbit is, before Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Took me all year to read The Hobbit. Didn't end up reading The Lord of the Rings, right? Next year, part 2's out. I'm like, you know what? I can probably read Fellowship of the Ring and Return and the Two Towers here to catch up. That's my
Yeah.
mindset
Yeah.
in year 11. Oh, and I'm in year 11. I'm like, trying to be high achiever or whatever.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, I wasn't. And and then so I'm like, but I've kind of forgotten what happens in The Hobbit. I felt like I read it over such a long period of time.
Yeah.
I'll read The Hobbit again
They're
super
tough
quick.
super quick.
I'll super quick catch
Has
up on The
anyone
Hobbit.
read-
Just blaze through it.
Yeah.
And then I will,
Totally.
because I had to start at the beginning each time. And I didn't get, I think I maybe read 2 chapters of the Fellowship of the Ring. And then it was Christmas and Two Towers.
Good
And
on you for trying. Yeah.
Year 3, I'm like, I know I did this because
This is
I
the
read
year.
every year. I always remember I read The Hobbit 3 times in 3 years, always with the aspiration that I was going to continue through because I couldn't bring myself to not read The Hobbit and then immediately start the Fellowship of the Ring shortly after and have it all in my short-term memory for some
Yeah.
reason. Very stupid approach. Even every time I want to watch Back to the Future 3,
Yeah.
I don't just go, just put on number 3.
Yeah.
I can't do that. Some part of me is like, you know what? I need to plan a weekend and I'm going to watch all 3
read
of
the
them.
book first.
Do you know what? Clever joke, but I would totally read that.
Yeah.
Is there a novelization of Back to the Future?
Not that I know. But
Interestingly, Back to the Future is a fantastic movie that I'm fairly certain doesn't follow this hero's journey principle at all.
Okay.
Because, maybe
yeah.
it does a little bit. He's got the mentor, the call to adventure, but his character doesn't change.
Yeah.
Whereas the whole point of
that's
Luke
interesting.
Skywalker is
Yeah.
that he's been transformed by this. The whole point of Back to the Future is that Marty, well, really by the end of the third one, he changes slightly. He's less of a hothead.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you don't call, if anyone calls him yellow or whatever they
But
call him.
that's just growing up and maturing, right? It's
Well, that's why the story, the principle, resounds with people or whatever it is, because it's part of life, going through life. If you don't change and you don't adapt, then you're kind of maybe a sociopath.
yeah. Yeah.
Turns out maybe the dude who played Luke Skywalker is a bit of a sociopath. Who knows? No,
You gotta go there.
I don't go there. I can't help but not think, like, that's part of the reason the whole Mark Hamill playing Luke Skywalker now is less. Like, before as a kid, I was like, I don't want to be Luke Skywalker, but here's a blank slate you can play. But I do think that we should talk about the fact that he is a very politically loudmouthed individual who I don't share values with, but I certainly, I don't necessarily think that, I would fall into the category of people that he would maybe despise. But he says a lot of stuff. I saw him say something. Well, I don't listen to him all the time, but I saw him say something at some Star Wars event or something. And this is the dude who's playing Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
And he said, may the Force be with you. And he said, unless you're MAGA, and then then you can shove the force up your ass or something like that.
Okay.
I think it was something along those lines. He said some play on words, and all I could think was,
that's painful.
yeah, all I could think was is that that's a crime against some sort of. There's got to be something there, right? Because if you make a piece of art and you put it out into the world, I mean, I think at that point you got to just go, let it go.
Yeah, some people say that once the art's out there, it doesn't belong to that individual anymore.
Well, I tend to think so, because I
out
think
there.
if you made something and that thing that you made reinforces Nazi agenda or something like that, well, maybe you should, now it doesn't belong to you, but maybe you should inquire of yourself, what kind of art did I make that could be, reinforcing that? You could probably you can have arguments about how someone is viewing it and reflecting it and discussing your art. You don't have to agree with it, but like to just blanket, like say, I hate you and you can't participate in the goodness of what I've created or been a part of.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of despicable, to be honest, because it's not really up to you whether someone, wants higher taxes or what. Some people might be MAGA for reasons that he doesn't actually disagree with that much, but it seems very unfair to aggressively attack people that you don't like with.
What do you do with it? Like, you just, okay.
Well, I think that's what a lot of people do with, and it just ends up being sad because you watch the movie and it's actually really helpful that he's super old. Well, he's not super old, but he's pretty old now.
Yeah.
And he doesn't look anything like his character. He doesn't sound anything like this Luke. So you can sort of separate him out.
I think it's ruining art a little bit, like where we know too much about various personalities and characters in music, in film.
Yeah.
Where it's become political and it's,
That's the worst part of society, political stuff.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I don't mind. Like, I think that was what we said about On the Waterfront movie. I don't mind if you got a message, but if it felt like that's most of the movie is just this political agenda that they've got or whatever they happen to be saying, yuck. I know that there was brilliant acting and there's all this in that movie, a lot of realism, and they were talking to this. Interestingly, I think they've just had a longshoreman issue or something somewhere in America. I heard that only because I saw the word longshoreman. I'm like, I've never seen that before except for this movie or that movie on the waterfront. But yeah, it does feel like whenever anything is overtly political, it just sort of feels like, well, it's not really speaking to anything eternal anymore or universal. It's speaking to just now, which that's what documentaries are for.
Which I don't know if I mentioned on the podcast or whether we were chatting. Nick Cave was talking about Nina Simone and some of her music, and he says the songs that have the biggest impact were her love songs rather than her civil rights songs. Not saying that they weren't important, but it's something that we can all connect to rather than like often a political song is dividing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's true. I've got a rough idea of who Nina Simone was, and some of her songs I've definitely heard.
She's a jazz singer.
Yeah. She's a black jet lady though, right? That was
But I think these movies
that's why it's important what she's saying. That's why
everyone can come and watch and not necessarily agree with it, but just wrestle with the ideas is great and not feel like you're being told to think something.
Yeah, I think it's that's why something like this is great because not just so you're not told to think something, but you can. It's not just about one issue or one perspective on now. It's speaking to your heart.
Yeah.
And everybody in some way, shape or form may feel like they're in their desert, and they're in their normal life and they've got these big dreams that some older external force is saying, no, one more season, stay on one more season.
Yeah.
And not that everyone's wishing that their loved ones would die and they'd be able to run off with an old man who's got magical powers. But as it turns out, that's what happened in Harry Potter and in Star Wars and stuff.
Yep.
But everyone's sort of hoping that if there was a circumstance like that did occur, that they wouldn't crumble and that they would go on the adventure, they would rise to the occasion, and that they would face the challenges that came to that, and they would be brave and they would be, able to come out on top,
But there's also the risk of, you could go to the dark side. Like there is the temptation. So being aware of that.
Well, that's Empire.
Which we all... That's
for the next movie, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Should we just pivot this whole podcast and just talk about Star Wars for the rest of the time? We'll just do Empire Strikes Back next. And we've got a whole bunch more movies lined up. We won't even talk about the
True.
Disney Star Wars
Yeah.
Skywalker saga
Yeah.
movies. Although I will say, if you want to watch a Disney Star Wars movie that I think bombed, and maybe the entire reason this movie may be the reason that Disney Plus doesn't make Star Wars movies. Disney Plus is the streaming regular. Disney doesn't make
Yeah.
Star Wars movies for the cinemas at the moment, or hasn't for a long time.
Yeah. Okay.
Is Solo. I hated
Yeah.
that. Well, I turned it off 20 minutes in. I was like, this is crap. And then I think I revisited it for some reason. I do not know. Someone might have said something good about it. I was like, oh, I'll give it another. And then I really liked it. I've watched it a couple times.
Yeah.
And also the same
I'm
thing
not sure
happened.
if I've seen it.
Yeah,
Don't know.
it's good. It feels more 1970s. It feels more like the aesthetic of this movie
Yeah.
as opposed to the
Is that where he sacrifices himself? Spoiler.
No,
No.
I think that's the Passion of the Christ. No, I don't really know what you're talking about.
Isn't there a movie where Hans dies?
Oh,
Or
that
is that
yeah,
that
that's in
gets-
the Disney. No, that's in the
that's another one,
Skywalker. That's in
sorry.
that Force Awakens movie.
Okay.
That old thing. Don't watch that.
I
No,
already
look,
have.
honestly, you've watched. If you watch that movie, crank it up really loud and enjoy all the design and all the sound and everything, and
Yeah.
then basically just tell yourself that you're watching this movie because it's not very hard to just go, oh yeah, I am too. I'm
Yeah,
watching.
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's literally Han and Chewie. They don't have proxies in that movie. They just are them again, but older.
Yeah. Yeah, but so fit still.
Well, yeah, I don't know. The dude who played. So let's go through a list of quickly everyone who's dead from who was in Star Wars. So Anthony
Very uplifting.
is
Yeah.
there.
Anthony who?
The dude who played in C-3PO. I was nearly going to say Anthony Edwards. I've got all these random actors' names in my head in place of the. No, not
Yeah.
Anthony. No, anyway, his name is Anthony.
He's dead.
No, he's not. He's not dead. He's
Oh, I
alive.
thought we were naming who's dead.
Yeah, but the dude who played R2D2, he's gone. R2D2's dead.
No, he's
Chewbacca is dead. Princess Leia's dead. Oh, we didn't even talk about Alec Guinness is in like 3 of these top 15 movies. Star Wars.
Yeah,
And
I found that interesting. Like, I don't see him as the greatest actor. Like, he's fine, but what do you reckon? It's
I love that
interesting that he's
so Nick starts out doing this podcast with me. He's like, oh, you know more about movies than me and all that sort of stuff. I don't know. And then he gets to episode 15. He's like, yeah, Alec Guinness, he's fine. He's like, your standards have gone from like, I don't know what I know to be like, yeah, Alec Guinness is like mediocre.
he seems to play these characters where they're like, I don't know.
I think you're right though.
Yeah.
I understand. It's not like he's not like Philip Seymour Hoffman or like Paul. Who's the other dude who transforms himself into Bill the Butcher and all that for all this? Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah.
But it's a different type of acting. It's a different time. I think he's really good as Faisal in Lawrence of Arabia. He's actually really good in this too.
Yeah, it's not. I don't want to criticize his acting, but I don't think maybe he's necessarily versatile. It's sort of like he plays a character and he's there, but he's not the star.
Yeah, well, maybe it's that he's not the star. Maybe it's that we just watched the Bridge one and he wasn't as great in that because we didn't like the character.
Yeah, maybe. Don't know.
I think he's fine. I think he's pretty. I don't know.
Tell us what you think.
Yeah, what do you think? This movie.
We've got to get some more comments.
Yeah, actually, if you've got this far in, which is, oh my gosh, thank you for your patience.
Yeah, it's a long one.
It is a long one. We'll turn it. Well, we did roll for a little bit before we started, so we will wrap it up in a second. But yeah, make sure you leave a comment. Tell us what you think. We want to hear your opinion on this. We've definitely just waffled at each other for a while.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Who else is dead? I just need to do this. So
This wasn't on our list of things to cover.
what? I just searched Star. Oh, I looked. How much does Carrie Fisher look like?
I was thinking,
Meryl Streep.
yeah,
She looks like
from
Meryl
this
Streep there.
angle.
And anyway,
But
she's gone sadly. That was very sad when she died. Because then you'll never have Luke, Leia, and Han on screen together ever again. And they never did it in the Disney. That's a big crime.
Yeah.
And they had all 3 of them alive for 2 of those
Well,
movies.
they didn't. Yeah.
And they Peter Cushing, Grand Moff Tarkin.
Dead.
You may fire when ready. That guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's obviously dead because he's old. He was old as when he made that movie.
Yeah.
They made a new version of him in it was called Rebel? No, it wasn't called Rogue One. They made a digital copy of him.
Yep.
Was it Rogue One? Oh, I don't know. They did a digital one of him and Leia.
Yeah,
for some Star Wars movies. But yeah,
yeah.
Alec Guinness, Anthony Daniels. That's why he's C-3PO. Kenny Baker, he's passed away. The only reason I've mentioned this is Peter Mayhew is Chewbacca, and he passed away as well. And I was like, oh, that's
Chewbacca,
yeah. When did he die?
Did he actually?
2019. Yeah.
Did he actually do the voice for Chewbacca? Yeah,
That one?
that's good.
Nah, the sound designer Ben Burt. I want to say Ben
Oh,
Burt.
really? Okay.
Yeah, he's famous dude because he created the lightsaber sound by like holding stuff near radio things or whatever. David Prowse, he's also gone. The only reason I say this is because a ton of them, like it was one a year, were dying for a while,
Okay.
and you're like, oh, another one from Star Wars is gone. What did I say? Peter Mayhew, and then who did I just say? David Prowse. So David Prowse is the guy who played Darth Vader in all three of the original Star Wars movies, and he's in the physical suit.
Yeah.
And a British bodybuilder dude. But I think there's behind the scenes footage or whatever before they dubbed over. Also, yeah, this is also, I knew it was in my brain for a reason. James Earl Jones just died. And he was the voice of Darth Vader.
We all know. Okay.
You don't know who James Earl Jones is?
No, I don't.
He's Mufasa in a lot of. I feel like we've had this conversation. Did we not just have this?
Probably. I'm terrible with names.
Maybe,
I
don't
know
know
faces.
Yeah.
Show
Anyway,
me faces.
I know because they keep coming to my mind, and obviously,
Yeah.
like waiting. Hopefully Harrison Ford's taking his,
Supplements.
supplements and doing push-ups and drinking lots of water, taking his substances. That might work as well. And Mark Hamill and all that, and live a long life, right? I watched the thing the other day, and Bob Hope lived till, if you don't know who Bob Hope is, what am I even talking about?
Talk to the audience.
He's like a 1950s, 1960s comedian and all that. So he hosted the Oscars a ton of times.
Okay.
He lived till he was over 100. And then his wife died 10 years later, and she lived till she was over 100.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's huge.
So some people lived longer.
Yeah, they do.
Anyway, not Peter Mayhew. What's his name again? David Prowse.
Yeah.
So all this behind the scenes footage of him playing Darth Vader, and he's doing all the lines, like the planes are the main computer, and I want them alive. Those Darth Vader's voice. He's like, doing it with a British accent, and it's muffled by with this mask is on. It just sounds so odd, and he didn't know that his audio was going to be replaced until the movie was out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they dubbed it over. I don't know definitively if he wasn't like worded up before the movie was actually released.
Yeah.
But I think there was an impression with him that he was going to hear his voice in some capacity.
Yeah.
And then he was just replaced completely.
Wow.
Yeah, which is good because the voice of Darth Vader, James Earl Jones, is Darth Vader. His voice.
Yeah.
So anyway, well, I could waffle on and.
It's interesting. You think these choices, it would be bad if it was the other way and they kept the original, but if that's all we knew, we'd probably love the British accent.
Yeah, I remember that it was Alec Baldwin, I think, was approached to play Indiana Jones.
Oh,
I think
really?
Yeah, but you just made a good point. If he was Indiana Jones, yeah, you can see
Mark Hamill.
He probably would have been fine. He just would have hated people.
Fine.
I wouldn't have been able to. Yeah, fine. He's a good actor. I'm not saying he's not a good actor. I just don't like the way he's approached years later life opinion.
He's a fine actor.
He's fine. Yeah. But you can see with
he
Han
doesn't have the sex appeal of.
He doesn't get to unbutton his shirt so low and sit back in the chair and say, good against remotes is one thing. Good against the living, that's something else. Am I quoting another part of the movie you don't remember?
Probably.
Okay, it's Han Solo. The reason I'm saying this is you can see why Harrison Ford became a massive star though, right?
Yeah.
He's got a lot of riz.
Yeah.
As
riz.
the kids say.
Yeah. The kid.
As the children say.
Yeah.
Should we wrap it up? I feel as though
so.
We've definitively said it belongs on this list.
Yeah, it's almost like the Wizard of Oz. It just what can you say about it?
What can you say about it? Yeah, but not much at all.
We love it. It's great. Recommend it to everyone.
Recommend it. How many
lightsabers?
How many severed alien arms do you give this? Because they sever the. Also, can I just quickly side note? We're about to finish this up. He gets in. Do you think the way they cut that scene where Luke's being sort of assaulted in the bar, and then Obi-Wan comes in with the lightsaber? I was always struggling to work out whose arm got chopped off because both of the guys he talks to aren't furry. There's a dude with skin, and then there's another dude with some sort of weird.
I thought it was the pig Pigman.
Pigman. Well, Pigman doesn't have furry anything on him.
Maybe he does.
And he's
with
not wearing
furry
that
arms.
coloured jacket.
Do you see his arms though?
Yeah, but he's not wearing that coloured jacket.
Yeah.
Trust me, I've watched this enough to be like, it's not that guy.
They just got a random,
some random alien arm and a bit of blood at the end. And you're like, oh, someone lost their arm. Poor, but I always thought, initially I thought it was the pig man that lost his arm. And then after watching it again, I'm like, I don't think it was the pig man. And then I started to feel sorry for whichever other alien was just hanging around nearby that got its arm chopped off. I mean, it could have been a monster of some sort. They don't look good. But how many severed alien arms do we give this movie out of 5?
Oh, I have to give it 5.
I have to as well.
Yeah.
This is getting boring.
They're all 5 out of 5, these movies, other than Gone with the Wind.
Well, yeah. I don't know.
Trash.
I think I liked that. I think it was for me. It was
you didn't.
On the waterfront. Okay, All About Eve is our next movie up from here.
You only liked it because you want us to go back to that time.
Oh yeah, now because I'm MAGA. Is that right? I wonder if those people do want that. Sometimes I'm sure. I saw a clip today and all these people talking about Donald Trump, and some of the stuff they were saying was like, oh, it makes your eyes water. Like, no, don't say that. That makes you sound really bad. But yeah, no, definitely don't want that. Just we want to make sure that there's nothing on the internet that ties me to that idea, even if it is a joke. Seemingly timid but secretly ruthless ingenue, Eve Harrington insinuates herself into the lives of aging Broadway star Margot Channing and her circle of theatre friends in Oscar-winning Oscar-winning story, All About Eve. Oh, let's see how we feel about this movie. Don't know. We're not going to watch it right now, but let's check how long it is. Okay, is this a long movie?
It's 1959, another black and white.
2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah, let's do it. Is it a comedy? I'm assuming it is. Surely.
No, I think it's not. I think it's a showbiz drama.
Okay.
Take a deep breath. No, I'm sure it'll be fun. I think we've had a pretty good run with the last 2. Some Like It Hot was
Well, for it to be at 16, it's got to be pretty good, right?
It's got to be pretty good. I'm looking forward to that. We've got All About Eve, African Queen, and then number 18, we'll be watching Psycho. Awesome. Well, we should probably wrap it up now.
Yeah.
Thanks heaps.
This has been fun, Tom.
It has.
I've enjoyed it.
I look forward to tasting some of your sourdough.
Yeah.
That was not a euphemism of any kind. I feel like the laugh you gave me made me feel uncomfortable.
No, I was trying to. Don't worry.
Okay, it's got late now. Thanks for watching.
Take care.
Take care. Have a good one.